setting things up for us to start?
Yes, we're live.
Okay,
Do you want to talk
hello.
about Las Vegas, Nikos?
I just have one not so nice story to say about Las Vegas. Venturi
you
wrote
got
this.
slapped from a hooker?
No. Well, once I went to visit Christopher Alexander, and he was so I spent some time with him, but he was busy, so I could not stay the 2 weeks that I had originally planned. So I had to find a flight back, changed my ticket, and I found a flight, at 2 a.m. changing planes in Las Vegas from San Francisco. So I arrived at 2 or 3 a.m. in Las Vegas airport, had to change the plane, had to wait an hour, and I came out and there was all these slot machines.
Yes.
In the middle of the night, these slot machines, it was a crazy thing.
I first was in Vegas in 1960 probably, or 59. Driving during the summer through the Southwest with my parents. We went on these annual big trips to the national parks and all.
Yes.
And I remember coming from the north. It was already the end of the trip. And coming from the north, I think we were coming in from Utah. And we made a big circle. We went to Arizona and then New Mexico, Colorado, Utah, Nevada, back to Los Angeles. And what people call the Strip, what people call Las Vegas, is really Las Vegas Boulevard. And it starts in downtown Las Vegas. It culminates in what used to be the post office and courthouse, which is now the Mob Museum, but does show the adaptive reuse of traditional buildings. And then it was a divided highway with almost no ability to make a U-turn or turn left. From the bottom of the Strip. You had plenty of opportunities to do that, but my folks really didn't want to stay in a casino, and they didn't want that environment. I don't blame them. So we kept on going and arrived at Jean, Nevada, which at the time was less than a truck stop. And it had a motel. And it had air conditioning. I think this was 59 or 60. It had air conditioning, which was noisier than Niagara Falls in the summer. It was amazing. And since then, the idea of sleeping by rivers and waterfalls, which sounds very, very romantic.
Yes.
I realized you can't sleep because of the noise.
Yeah. Okay, well, what are you showing, Ara, for our audience? What is this?
You guys mentioned Las Vegas, and I don't know what's happening with, but I mean, anytime I think of Las Vegas in the context of architecture, I think of Venturi.
Learning from Las Vegas.
Yeah, learning from Las Vegas.
Okay, that it is a highly praised book that has one message. It's like a one-trick pony. Okay, Venturi realized that in order to sell something and make it attractive, you have to break away from modernism. Okay, so he realized that. And so he wrote the book, and then everyone said, brilliant. You could have told him that. Any kid could have told him that. So I have nothing to criticize him for, but all this huge hype around learning from Las Vegas. And Las Vegas has only limited number of lessons to teach us, because it is just an architectural spectacle. Is not for regular cities.
And
at the same time, there were architects working all around the world who had lessons for cities, for making human cities. And none of this is in Venturi's book. He never paid attention to those traditional architects who were working at the time. And I was saying privately to Nir, there were older practitioners alive at the time that Venturi could have learned from, but he didn't. He was stuck in the contemporary razzle-dazzle architecture, and he introduced this, this idea of criticizing the dominant modernism, but it certainly didn't go far enough. And I have, a not so nice story from Greece, that a professor, I'm in contact with a professor at the regional university, and we had some very pleasant exchanges. And then he said, I think it's extremely important for me to translate the book Learning from Las Vegas into Greek, so that the Greek architecture students will learn it. And I told him, but I don't think it's worth your trouble. There are so many more important things that you can translate that are more recent and more comprehensive, like Near's book or Leon Creer's book or some Christopher Alexander's book, instead of Learning from Las Vegas. And he took offense at this. He thinks this is the book that will revolutionize architectural education in Greece, which is stuck in Ottoman times. It's not even medieval, it's stuck in Ottoman times.
It's stuck in Modernist time, no?
Yeah, Greek students are learning the worst possible prejudiced, cult-oriented modernism. Incredible, and and they're being brainwashed.
I think in every architecture school.
Like in every architecture school. So this guy who was a professor, so he realized that there's something wrong with Greek architectural education, but his solution is to translate Learning from Las Vegas. Whereas we have gone so far, decades ahead of what Venturi tried to communicate from Learning of Las Vegas. And this guy, my contact, the professor of architecture in Greece, has no idea of what has happened since Learning from Las Vegas, which to me is pathetic.
Well, let me show you a little project in Las Vegas, if I may. I was actually commissioned to write an article about classicism in Las Vegas in like 2010 or something. And entire screen, this one, share. And so you have this impression that Las Vegas is very traditional architecture, full of traditional architecture. So I arrived there and I started looking for it. I was just looking for a single correct classical column. And I found one in the Caesar's Palace, and it seemed to be accidental because there was absolutely no correct classicism there. Maybe with the exception, and you can see it in the lower bottom window here, image here, you see some stuff that wants to look traditional French. It's an imitation copy of a reduction in scale by, I don't know, with whatever, oh my God, of the opera in Paris. I actually stayed in one of the rooms here and got to look at the Tour Eiffel thing. And when we're done, I can tell you some stories about the Eiffel Tower, because of how it was constructed, which is truly amazing.
The original one or the one in Las Vegas?
No, the original one. It was all great engineering is not about technology at all. It's about management, construction management. What really struck me was the number of people in the street. It was Las Vegas Boulevard is a pedestrian environment. There's something I estimated there's something like 20,000 people in the street at any moment on Las Vegas Boulevard.
Wow! Are these your pictures? Do you have any photos of the pedestrians?
Not offhand. This is from the book. I just opened it.
Okay. Well, anyway, please make these bigger because you cannot see them on a small screen. So
Right.
if this is from a book, make them bigger.
So what I figured was, and look at the great resolution in the book. What I realized was that the different the different casinos were constantly going up and coming down, going up and changing, going up and coming down, changing. But in the early, in 2010, Las Vegas was interested in creating a multi-generational experience to draw in new people. And I realized intuitively at the time, I didn't know anything about the neuroscience of memory and place and all that, by eliminating the old places, you were cropping the opportunity for urban memory on the part of the visitors from showing their kids where they had been. So that was thing number 2 that I realized. And thing number 3 that I realized was that the environment is really harsh. And you might want to actually landscape the whole boulevard. So I came up with this idea of turning the boulevard, I called it re-boulevarding the boulevard, so that it would be a real boulevard. And then next to the various, this is where the resolution goes away, next to the various hotels, in the median, make the median as broad as you can, and you really have a great deal of width in the street before the buildings actually, and you meet the buildings. Create these marketplaces where the casinos would sell, souvenirs and have some more slot machines, but all this being an open air and natural environment, but with, mist things and water elements and all kinds of stuff to make it more comfortable and nice. So you could actually walk down Las Vegas Boulevard, but also you would have a metro running underneath it, like a horizontal elevator, because it's like a mile almost between casinos. The distances are huge.
Yeah.
And to bring it alive. So of course, I met this aspiring, young, energetic, minority journalist, and I thought, he's going to be enthusiastic about my idea. And he wrote an article in the Las Vegas magazine, "A Dream That Will Never Come True." Thank you very much.
Okay, but so what was the response from the stakeholders?
It never got as far as the stakeholders, but it was an opportunity that's it. There's never any design work that is wasted. It just doesn't happen.
Show us some more of these drawings, please.
So the idea was to have, this is near the Palladio, that you have some places where you have cars, you reduce it to 2 lanes. Really don't need more than that, because people are driving 5 miles an hour anyways, because they're cruising.
Yeah,
it's a cruising place. So you don't need stoplights. You don't need any of that. You just have little roundabouts wherever you need them. And then the marketplace itself could be done in the style of the hotel, of the casino. And it would be a memorial to it, so that you could show your kids this is what it was. And you could add them along the thing. You'd have something, like a bazaar, ultimately a retail bazaar or something like that. Or a living history kind of a museum. So this is the Palladio, and the picture you saw there was this little market over here, not so little maybe. And there was this was a cooling tower place, and so on and so forth. So you get the idea. And the original landscaping for this was supposed to be here you have more of the various conditions, but you can see it can be a very simple kind of a thing for, it's not in the city of Las Vegas. This is in the county, Clark County. But it would be easy for them to maintain all this as a public amenity.
Right,
and you
right,
could use,
right. Okay,
look, and you could use as sources for it all these beautiful things that already, some of it you can. There was. I hope this shows. There was what used to be the Aladdin Hotel. They had a magnificent interior dome. Sort of the main feature there. So you can take that and put it in there and so on and so forth.
Okay, so are these pictures from the book Classic Planning?
Yes.
Your book?
Yes.
Okay, so let's get back to the main topic of this video, which is architectural education. What students are not taught. Students are not given your book to do a 1-year course or even a 1-semester course.
I know on authority that Professor Julio Cesar Perez Hernandez at Notre Dame does use my book, and several other people also do. And these are really the leading professors of architecture in the world are using the book.
Okay, we have to explain to our audience that you mentioned one of our friends who happens to be professor at Notre Dame, which is the one major university that has a traditional architecture curriculum. Hundreds of other programs who don't touch traditional architecture, who don't touch your book. That's the problem.
Well, for now, but...
Yeah, but now is now. As I mentioned in our last video, the semester has started. New generation of architecture students are starting to be brainwashed with useless images and kept away from books like yours and mine and Anne's and Creer's, etc., etc.
Well, it sounds like a terrible tragedy, but the truth is that the planet and society and life is self-correcting, and there's going to be a point where the technocratic focus of so-called architectural training, because really they are trained as technocrats to operate computer systems in a very, very narrow stylistic spectrum. It's culturally, it's we all know that culturally it is bankrupt, and they are the cause. People who call themselves architects, the majority of them today, are cause of 40% of global warming. I have struggled with the idea of telling mature people who have operated from a belief system their whole lives that what they've been doing has been destroying the planet systematically.
Exactly. Will they admit it? Absolutely not. Let's show some more images. Okay, we've seen these. Ara, what should we look at?
There are a couple areas near me where they actually lessened the street and they added some elements of landscape urbanism, and they've been very successful. And I think initially people were like, oh, there's going to be too much traffic. We're going to have less streets to walk on. But it's actually been very successful urbanistically. For example, there's this one.
Look.
Yeah.
Today's title is supposed to be architectural education.
Yes.
Well, application. Okay. Reginald Blomfield. Sir Reginald Blomfield, one of the great architects of the early 20th century and a great architectural educator and writer. I just read this last night. I have his book, the
It is BLO, Blomfield.
Blomfield. The something with an L of architecture. Look down at his, he did Regent Street. He was a great architect. There's a book by him. It's down further down. It's the something of architecture. Blomfield Publications. That's it. That's all they have. Okay, whatever. That's publications about him. In any event, he said that one of the important things in teaching, it has to be taught by practitioners and examples from practice. So that Mr. Ovsepian wanted to show us a good example of something. It's an educational moment. I'm just commenting. I would like to hear what he had to say, but this Blomfield guy, Blomfield, everything he touched was successful because it was appropriately beautiful. It was in the style that was necessary. It was well resolved as a building. He was a very good builder. And he operated in a world that had a strong understanding of architecture. The something of architecture. What is that? Touchstone of Architecture. That's the book I'm reading.
Uh-huh. Can you find it and make it?
The Touchstone of Architecture. Let's go to, yeah, that's the book. Can you go to the table of contents? It's a funky table of contents. Oh, by the way, I think I showed you that last week. I got the book. I did, right? That I have a copy that was owned by
Yes.
John Galen Howard from San Francisco. So I'm reading a book by Blomfield that has pencil emphasis in it by John Galen Howard. I mean, this is like an architecture class, not only the content, but also what Howard thought was important. So he starts out with the idea of state training of art and the artist in the community, because architecture, like painting and sculpture, is one of the fine arts.
Is it?
Well, yeah. It was made functional in the 20th century by people who wanted to become famous on their own accord. And really, the whole idea of modernism is to be famous, become famous. That's what Corbusier did. His whole effort was to become well-known. Gropius, I mean, he couldn't design his way out of a bad box, but he got to be famous. He did the Pan Am building, you know, on at the end of Park Avenue. What a disaster. You had Mies van der Rohe, who did some of the dumbest stuff you can imagine, and cynically, you know, full of self-contradictions, like the I-beams that are plastered onto the facades of the Seagram building. You know what I'm talking about, Ara?
Yeah. Can you hear me? I seem to be frozen. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we could hear you.
Okay, those I-beams plastered on the sides of the Seagram building are called lies.
Yeah.
Architectural lies. So modernism is a whole framework of architectural lies. And I partly agree with Nir, but I would go further. It's not fame that drives, it's raw power, raw absolute power, the thirst for fame and power, and the type of power that is actually destructive and savage. Modernist architects craved raw power, and they learned that by rubbing shoulders with the Nazis in the 1920s in Germany. You know, so we say today in architectural history, you know, they were fighting each other for the ideas. You know, the architects, the good guys, the Bauhaus, you know, the Nazis were the bad guys fighting for power, but they were both fighting for power.
You're right. Yeah, these are those beams. I remember first time I saw the building, I went up close and took a picture of that, and just, you know, I had to accept it as dogma because I was a modernist and I was trying to learn how to do acceptable stuff. because I was being told that's the best in the world. And it really is interesting how the best in the world changes every 3-4 years as a new architect crops up. I was there the first time the Zaha Hadid came on the table. She did a design for the Hong Kong Peak Club in Hong Kong. There's on top, Hong Kong is an island. On top of the island, there's a place for a club, and she designed it. And it was like I didn't get it. That was her very first attempt. It was a paper project. Never got past that point. I didn't get it. It looked daring. It looked like something, but the work that they have produced under her name is horrendous. It's like, why do that? So yeah, it's been a and this brilliant dude, he is it's like he discovered arithmetic.
Yeah, look, get rid of Patrick because he's still alive and he may get offense at what we say. So forget Patrick.
You know him? You like him? I should be nice to him?
No, I don't like him, but he's alive. You can say anything you want about Zaha, she's dead, but Patrick is alive. We don't want to insult him.
I didn't say anything bad about Miss Hadid. Oh, so this is where we started. And where is this exactly? In Glendale?
Yeah, this is in Glendale. So this used to be, I don't know how, probably just one car in each direction.
Yeah.
But they closed it off and added landscaping, and it's purely pedestrian now, and it's very successful. I mean, it looks empty here, but people use it all the time.
It looks friendly. It can probably use another 3-4 stories on above these floors and stay in that old Glendale brick. That has to be refaced. All modernist things need to be. I don't no longer consider modernist architecture bad. That doesn't get me anywhere. I just considered it incomplete. It doesn't have a facade and it doesn't have a roof, so it's not a building. It's some kind of a structure. And with random architectural elements included in it here and there.
There was this in Burbank, California, where it used to be a 2-way street. They made it a 1-way street, and I guess they gave the rest of it to parking, not really the pedestrian. But this is now a 1-way street.
The fact that you are narrowing the carriageway is basically a good thing.
Yeah. But
unless you're going to have a huge amount of pedestrian traffic and very, very easy parking access, like in Santa Monica, 3rd Street Promenade used to be bustling. But I heard that it's Deadsville at this point, which happens. There's this cycle of urban use.
At the risk of opening another polemic front,
please.
Many pretend urbanists today design nice-looking things on the computer without considering the flow, how the paths interact, how the pedestrian paths interact with the cars and the access. And they get it built because they have a political clout. And then it's a disaster. It's a hit or miss, I would say. Many times 50% is a disaster because they don't consider the flows, the networks that the healthy urbanism does. Like Leon and young Gail and Christopher did. They just see how pretty it looks on a computer screen. So that's hit or miss.
Real quick, sorry, yeah. The 3 dots, Nikos, up to at the top right of your image on the bottom. Can you click on it and then maybe lower the resolution of your camera, and then maybe it'll show? Do you see the resolution? I put mine on 360 because I think also when I think I used to have higher resolution, and that's when the audio problems happened because it was prioritizing image over audio. Is it there or no? Because on my micro. Oh, there we
Okay,
go.
it's better. Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
I don't see where I don't see 3 dots anywhere, but I do see.
There is the wheel. There's the wheel on the
yes.
bottom that allows you to change the resolution. I changed it to 360, and my picture came back. I mean, the video came back.
Yeah, this is also 360. I think it's good enough, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
So I want to say something more about this phony approach to urbanism. It's coming from the modernist architecture. Everything is imaged on the computer screen. That doesn't work. You have to pay attention to the rules of urbanism, and there are rules, and our friends and we have written those and documented them. You know, they are in Near's book. They are in some of the new urbanist documentation of the successful places. You know, Leon has them in his book, and Christopher has them in his book. But the modernist approach is that you are the God's representative on earth, and you draw something on the computer screen, and you think it looks cute, and then you build it, and it's going to work. That's nonsense. It's not going to work. It's a hit or miss.
Well, there's no reason for it to work.
Oh, but the modernists are inculcated in architecture school. You draw it on the computer screen, and it's going to work, and you have to make it work, and the people will be forced to use it. And if you think it's going to work, it's going to work. You know, it's the height of arrogance and hubris. And this is what's taught to architecture students.
There's a class in first year. So when I went to architecture school, the first semester, we were only allowed to draw by hand. Second semester was digital. We had the studio courses where we were designing some spaces. And then we had the software course where we weren't even doing buildings. It was like make a pepper, 3D model a pepper, 3D model like some weird things, weird geometry, weird shapes. And then eventually those shapes started making their way into our design projects.
Because you already had them modeled, you start using them.
Right.
From what you tell me,
you got a pepper, not a tomato. You were stuck as a pepper architect. The other guy was a cucumber architect.
From what you tell me, this sounds like a totally deficient way of teaching. You have to teach rules that have been derived over hundreds of years and that are documented in the books that we refer to.
Yeah, by the way,
if
I was
you
looking
ignore
at
them, you're going to make nonsense. My book, okay? Anne's book.
Yeah. You had a very... So I saw what you were saying about the ratio, the scaling ratio. So the number, the 2.7 was a scaling ratio.
Yeah.
So it has a different application than the Fibonacci golden section, golden ratio.
Yes.
Because the golden ratio shows up as like one particular object, but the 2.7 is scaling of different objects.
It creates a fractal. And Near and I agree that you need fractal structure both for the urbanist scale and for the architectural scale and the ornamental scale. So you create a fractal that has definite things happening at different scales, and those scales are nicely ordered and they are coherent with each other.
And do we agree that it has to be multiple fractals and not one fractal?
Well, any real life application is going to have separate fractals. You cannot have a total fractal. A total fractal that covers everything is a mathematical fractal. That's not a physical situation. Okay, even a tree has different fractals for the bark, for the branches, and for the leaves. But you know, they're all fractals, but they're not the same fractal.
Thank you for saying that, Nikos.
What we see here, okay, that the star, that's the Sierpinski triangle, that's a mathematical fractal. That can be an entire fractal. But when you have a real world situation, you have different fractals that cooperate.
Just a moment. I need to see here what's going on. Can you excuse me for a minute, please?
Yeah,
of course.
So for people who don't know, Ara, you are showing text from my book, A Theory of Architecture, and these are the images from A Theory of Architecture, in which I try to explain how we get the fractal scaling and the different, first to establish the fractals, and then how the fractals are built from different scales, large, medium, and small, and you have a hierarchy of scales, and then you create the scales, and then you make sure that everything has the different scales. What minimalist modernism did is to just erase all the scales. It's anti-fractal. There is a hatred of fractal structure in modernism. So that undoes everything that I say in my book, which also undoes the connection that the human body requires to feel at home in the environment. So what the modernists say, it is our right to impose as a style, undoes the connection that the human body needs. It ruins the connection that the brain requires, the informational connection with the environment that we have evolved to utilize in order to live. So it is against the basic principles of human life that we interact with the environment unconsciously, and we input information in order to survive.
Sometimes when I'm looking at your images, sometimes it's very clear what is a positive example and what is a negative example, and sometimes it's hard to tell. I'm wondering if like, for example, this one, spatial pattern created by movement. I'm not sure, because it does have some elements of symmetry, but it's not fully symmetrical. I'm just curious, like, is this?
I don't know what you're talking about. Enlarge this. I want to see what it refers to.
That's what I'm trying to do. I don't know why I can't enlarge it. Maybe I need to open Photoshop.
Well, if you can't enlarge it, then I cannot see what it is.
I'm going to. I can't enlarge it here for some reason, but maybe I can in a separate window.
So forget it. Let's go. Okay, Nir is coming back.
Okay, cool.
Let's discuss something else.
Okay.
So what you're saying is that in my book, A Theory of Architecture, some of the figures are easy to understand and others are not so easy to understand. Well, yes. let the architecture student read them over and over again and try to understand.
That's a good point.
And then read the text. The figure is placed within a text, and maybe the text is relevant to understanding, because the figure is supposed to illustrate the text. So somebody should read that over and over again.
Oh, here it is. Share. Okay, here we have it. Spatial pattern created by movement.
Okay, so look. This is some place, a room or some rooms or an urban space. And then we study how people move. And we document that. That's what Holly White did. You document how people move. And that establishes the use, the patterns of use by movement. You cannot imagine that on your computer screen, which is what modernist architects do. They say, I'm designing this and people will use it the way I want them to. No, they won't. People are influenced by the information field and what the structure that exists, and they will use it according to the way animals navigate. And you cannot predict that. You need to do some experiments to try to predict that. You cannot impose it. I'm sorry, you cannot impose it. You can predict it by doing experiments. So here, we have observed the movement and they create the patterns. And then you better adjust your structure to accommodate these patterns. Otherwise, people will not use the space. That's
what's this foraging? What is this foraging pattern called? It has a name. Some mathematician gave it a name. It's how saccades work. It's animal foraging. Basically, when you're doing a neighborhood, it's telling you where to put the small, medium, and large parks, because people are going to exit the front door and they're going to be hunting, seeking for a park. So you want to give them these options. And the other very interesting thing is that we are now placing parks not quite at random at all, but we're actually using this foraging pattern, knowing that it's a foraging pattern. It's the same idea as how the artist, the splatter paint artist, dropped his paint. You remember his name? I'm just
Jackson Pollock.
Jackson Pollock. This is from Richard Taylor's work. We can actually locate small, medium, and large parks based on the splatter pattern research that Taylor did of Jackson Pollock's work.
Okay,
Yes, Nikos mentioned that too.
Stop right there. You are referring to what you and your group is doing to design urban parks successfully. Is that correct?
Basically.
Okay, I totally agree with that. Because when you design urban parks, you have to take into account how people will use them. And we have enough scientific information, like the foraging patterns and the fractals, to be able to anticipate how people will use them. Now, most high-profile firms will just draw something on the computer screen and they say, this is the park, and people are going to use it. And we will force people to use it. And they don't. When they don't, it remains empty. It's a total waste. Because the high-profile architects refuse to look at the scientific evidence of what it is that drives people to use an open space. We have it documented. It is neuroscience, and it is foraging patterns, and it is mathematics, and we have all that information available. And the dominant architecture culture refuses to look at that. They insist on imposing designs. Again, we'll come back to this absolute power that they seek. And
I want to believe you're wrong. Really. I want to believe that there's got to be more than just that in what's going on. But maybe you're right.
If I'm right, it's frightening, and that makes you uneasy.
Well, it has been a psychopathic kind of an experience, and the bullying in the classroom and the forcing the students to adopt illogical but also unnatural. This whole business of, do you understand what space is? How long did it take you to understand that? Most of the first year? Did you get it right off the bat? How long was that? Okay.
Ara, what are you showing? You need to explain what you're showing to our audience. What is this?
Oh, what I was showing before was I was flipping through a preview of Nir's book.
Well, Nir's book is not available for free on the web, because you have to buy it.
And then you guys just got me thinking, really. I really love that you guys are breaking down architecture objectively, which is so necessary. And I was exposed to Nikos's work in grad school, which kind of gave me, it was something I hadn't really connected it to traditional architecture yet, but I think it did improve my work in that I was thinking about people experiencing it and breaking down the floor plan, like thinking about how people move along the space and giving people multiple options of how to traverse. It was very effective. But in architecture school in undergrad, I was obsessed with work like this, which, maybe it's cool artwork.
It's not cool artwork. It's not artwork. It does not give pleasure to experience. It creates anxiety. It's
both of you made true statements. One said it's cool. The other one says it induces anxiety. There are two types of aesthetic experiences. One is pleasure-based, and the other one is pain-based. The pleasure-based aesthetic experience is the experience of the beautiful. The pain-based aesthetic experience is that of the sublime. Generally speaking, when something is beautiful, people will actually say, oh, it's beautiful, unsolicited. It's going to come out automatically from their mouths. I usually, most of the work that I show gets that as a response after under less than a minute for sure. When people say it's cool, it means that it's been intellected and that it is not beautiful, but it is actually sublime. It's a pain-based aesthetic. And look at all of these. These are all pain-based aesthetics that you intellectually will figure out what in God's good earth this actually is supposed to represent. And then you say it's cool because it crossed some kind of intellectual threshold. Or, like Professor Salingaros says, it doesn't give you a pleasing experience. These are, I don't know what the utility of this is, but basically all of modern art, including architecture and music and the whole 9 yards, it all can be, it all comes down to one single piece. I think it's Albers's white canvas.
There's nothing there. There's nothing there.
It's not about the content, but it's about, we have tried everything. That is not real art. What do you want to do next? You want to do more of the same, which is what's happening now. It's a regurgitation of 60s ideas, 70s ideas, almost cyclically. You have 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s did nothing original, basically, and they started recycling all those ideas again.
Yes.
What you have these days, it's stupid 70s architecture being recycled.
Yes, the same empty ideas endlessly recycled.
This is 80s architecture being recycled. Yeah. What you saw in the school studios in the 70s, 80s, 90s, you saw in the 20 teens, 2020s, you see it on built, because they have figured out how to build these damn things.
This is Euler Wu Collaborative. They're two architects who have a partnership. I think they're husband and wife also. And I think the husband, Dwayne Euler, used to work for Lebbeus Woods.
So why are you showing us this? To get us to make,
because he used to love this kind of stuff.
You're going to make us we're going to make some disparaging remarks, and it's going to offend these people who are currently in practice.
That's a nice building, So what you're really seeing,
they didn't do that. They did the inside. They gutted the inside to.
What you see is they gravitated intuitively, instinctively to good architecture, and they have it in their presence. It's in their consciousness. This is a well-designed. Do you see how the it's not pilasters, the walls on the sides are just that much wider than the window bays. I mean, it's really a beautiful
they
piece.
didn't do this. This is the existing older building. They gutted it and they put this strange thing in the middle.
Yeah, this was a bank building.
By the way. Look. I don't want to make disparaging remarks about current living practicing architects. That will get us into trouble, and there's no need to be polemic.
Okay. You want to talk about...
You want me to be polemic? I will be polemic about somebody who died and went to hell. The urinal. The famous urinal.
Yeah.
Okay, by Duchamp. Okay.
Yeah.
So, the United States went to Afghanistan. Tens of thousands of U.S. soldiers died to try to bring Afghanistan to the 20th century, implementing a system for educating the girls who did not get an education, for centuries in Afghanistan. And then one of the lectures in the American-sponsored program to educate girls showed the urinal, and I have seen the video, showed the urinal to these Afghani girls and told them, this is a great piece of art, a great work of art, and these poor girls were totally nonplussed, totally shocked. And you had these American women soldiers saying, this is a great work of art. Now, I'm conjecturing, I can imagine these girls going home and telling their father, we saw a urinal for males to pee. in, and the American women told us this is a great work of art. And I can imagine the father saying, "We have to kill all these Americans, get them out of Afghanistan. What are they talking? What are they teaching? Our girls, they're destroying our culture, they're destroying our religion." Nobody thought that this is going to create such a revolution, and hatred, just because America adopted this con artist Duchamp, who made money out of this nonsense, and you think you're going to go and sell it to a traditional Muslim society? It's it sparked the war, and we had to get out of Afghanistan.
All because of a urinal. My when I was at first an architect, I had a very young woman draftsperson straight out of school, and we were drawing a school building up, and we were drawing a school building that had men's toilets in it, and she had the plastic template for drawing urinals. And she had no idea what a urinal was because she'd never been in a men's toilet. So she drew it with the narrow part facing the wall, and it makes sense because it looks like it might be collecting something, right? She really apparently didn't have much experience with guys at the time. She later got married, so I'm sure she became more of an expert. So I actually took her, made sure nobody was in there, took her into a male toilet to show her this is how it is, I thought it was very funny. But, this is like a guide joke because it's not really funny to women that they don't really care about the urinals. I also resent the fact that these urinals these days are these small things. It used to be a wall. You'd stand there and there was a wall with a channel at the bottom, and you peed at the wall. And you could pee diagonal, you could pee in any direction, up and down. It was really wonderful. And by the way, is there such a thing as Madonna Inn still in I think it's north of Santa Barbara. It's around Paso Robles, I think.
Well, look, Neil, what you're complaining about.
Oh, Madonna Inn urinal. It was there. Madonna Inn urinal. There it is. It's the largest urinal in the world. It's a walk-in experience. And you, okay. So the other extreme of this, at this place where Ben Hamilton Bailey had created a wonderful 2-circle roundabout with no signage, no marking on the ground, just paving patterns. He was a great man. He really understood this. The picture on the left, top left, that was his test. If a place was safe, he lied down in the street, and people wouldn't run him over. They'd drive around him, whatever it took. That's how he knew that it was a safe place.
Okay,
here it is. The project, it's I can't mark it up. So it's the second row, second from left. Yeah,
that one. Okay.
And there, on the outskirts of this roundabout, where the gray car was going, I believe. Or maybe it's to where the red car is coming from on the top left. Anyways, there's a restaurant there. I was touring England and I needed to take a break. So I walk into their bathroom. I think the place is called The Dairy. And the urinals were all milk buckets. So this is a topic which can be expanded, and I think enjoyably so by all concerned.
Okay, look, we're running out of time, and we have gone off topic from architectural education. I want to come back to my rant against against the education of Afghan girls that created a revolution, a bad revolution, to say that the same thing has occurred in architectural education, namely the nonsense that we have accepted in the United States has been exported, but it has been accepted by countries in the developing world that have gutted their university education of architecture and are teaching the same nonsense that we teach here in the United States. That to me is totally incredible. And no one has protested. You know, all over the world, in any kind of society, in any kind of
It
religion,
was sold well, you know.
yeah, they have destroyed and put on the scrap heap all the wonderful traditional architecture developed over millennia, all the human scale urban spaces and colors that they used to put on the buildings, all of that have been scrapped, and they're brainwashing the young generation of architects just to copy the nonsense that we're doing here. It's incredible.
I'm thinking, I have been thinking a lot about the reason for the success of the modernist movement. And I think that it comes from, this is one of my favorite buildings, well, the one on both of them, but especially the Karlskirche. This is Vienna stuff. Yeah, good stuff. Very comfortable to be around.
What were you thinking? You're an intelligent guy, and you can get to the reason for things. That's what we want.
I think it was sold to young people on the basis of FOMO, fear of missing out. I think it was based on the idea of keeping FOMO and keeping up with the Joneses is the same thing, and it's very easy to for somebody who's 30, 40 years old to come to a kid who's that building, excuse me, this is a party structure. It was intended for having parties of about 100 people, and the kitchen is huge. It's like a restaurant kitchen in size, and it's full of corners where couples can make out. The whole thing. There is not a corner in that building that you could not use for even if you're semi-exposed, the spaces are so tight that nobody can actually see almost anything. And if you hear them coming, you can quickly cover up because it's just brilliant. It's a really good party house, not a corner not to be enjoyed.
I just realized they gave it an odd number of columns and an even number of bays. So if you walk to the center, you're going straight into a column.
That's modernist. It's functional.
Man, that's crazy.
That is the architectural symbol for something functional because it's just supporting itself. It's not about people going in and using it. It's very hard actually to find the front door on this thing, which is on the lower level. You sort of wander around. It's over there on the left somehow or other. No, where's this? This, you actually... the entry is over under column number 2 from the left in that area. It's in that.
Okay, look, let's not waste our time with this person who was mentally damaged and wanted to.
I think he was, I don't know that he was mentally damaged. I think that he was psychopathically ambitious.
And Sussman, our friend, makes a case that he was mentally damaged.
Oh, PTSD.
Well, yeah, somehow
you combine that with being psychopathically ambitious, that creates a dangerous mix. That's why he was a dangerous person.
A lot of his work was done by his girlfriend, who he married like a year or two before he died, finally.
What?
Yeah, he was the Frenchman. He was
a serial abuser of women, and that's documented.
He was also a raving anti-Semite.
Was he really?
Oh yeah. Show back that Plan Voisin.
Plan Voisin.
The Paris plan with the skyscrapers.
Oh yeah, The towers in the park.
Yeah,
Towers in the park.
that was supposed to get rid of the Jewish quarter, get rid of the Jews. But
Yeah, that was on the Jewish quarter of Paris.
What?
Yeah, and look.
He was a fascist. He was the publisher and appeared on the cover of the fascist magazine in France.
Yes, and we have his letters that saying Adolf Hitler is going to save the world and he will put the Jews in their place finally. These are letters. And the great irony is that his big biographer, Jean-Louis Cohen, is a French Jew. You know, he wrote this huge book, Le Corbusier. The title of the book is The Great Le Corbusier. You know, and the author is Jewish. And said nothing about all the blatantly anti-Semitic stuff that Corbusier wrote and practiced in his life.
I never knew.
So Nir is gone. We're an hour. I think we should end.
Sure. So by the way, there's a conference in Vienna, actually, which is cool that we were talking about Vienna, in November.
Yeah.
And I applied to be part of it.
Good.
And they asked me for an abstract. Yeah. And I called it Uprisings in Architecture, a Comeback of Human-Centered Design.
Wonderful.
And I wrote just a couple paragraphs about our podcast. And it seems like they might accept it, and they want me to write a longer paper by the end of the month.
Beautiful.
So if I do, I'm going to probably quote you guys' books. And
sure, you quote anything you want.
Okay, cool. So I'll cite you guys as my sources.
Yeah.
And then
I hope they invite you to go to Vienna to
that'd be cool.
To present the talk.
Perfect. Thank you. Safe travel.
Okay, that's it. So we end. Ciao, everybody.
We're ending. Oh, how sad.
Yes, it's 1 hour.
Parting is such sweet sorrow.
Concluding remarks.
I did want to show towers in architecture, though. May I?
Oh, good towers? Yeah, of course.
So all the towers in the world of traditional design, where do I go to share screen?
You already shared it. We saw it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, we saw it.
You saw this?
Yeah, 20 seconds ago, and then you got rid of it.
Oh, I'm so sorry. So do you see it? And do you see anything?
Not now.
Oh, there it is.
Okay, now we see it. Good.
Okay, so basically, a great number of towers in traditional architecture, when people started building tall buildings, they come from three sources. The Campanile in Venice, so that's on the left, and then next to it is the Customs Tower in Boston. And this is not the only one. It was just an example.
I recognize the Giralda.
Sorry?
I was just saying I recognize the Giralda that you guys showed me.
The Giralda in Seville, there are scores of Giraldas around the world. There are 7 in Moscow alone. The Seven Sisters, they are towers, university structures, and so on and so forth, all kinds of buildings. And they were some kind of a network. I think it was a network of university buildings that they did that. Here, what you see is the Biltmore Coral Gables. So, there it is. The function is a hotel. The function of the Customs Tower is an office building. Then you have the very thin tower of Siena, and it is the clock tower of the Waterbury train station. And I think it's by McKim White. I don't remember 100%, but it's a fine imitation, including the clock. It does have the clock, but it has the clock where it belongs. The clock on the Sienese model is down below for 2 reasons. One is it faces the Campo. So that's where the audience needing the clock is. Because you can't see that tower from anywhere in the city because the streets are so narrow. And the other reason is that you have the mechanism lower down, so it's easier for maintenance. You don't have to go up to the top because these things always require a lot of maintenance. So thank you for letting me share this beautiful picture with you. And
Okay, thank you, Nir. So, Ara, closing remarks, or are we done?
Yeah. So I'm considering joining the CPI thing that starts October 30th. So
that'll be very good for you.
yeah, that'd be cool. And so there's also a conference in I was just sharing with Nikos. There's a conference in Vienna in November that was taking application. So I sent a short abstract about the podcast, and it was called "Uprisings in Architecture: A Comeback of Human-Centered Design." And it seems like it made it to the next round. So they're asking me to write a longer paper, and I might end up sharing it in Vienna in mid-November.
That sounds wonderful.
Yeah,
Make
and I think
sure
that
they pay your way.
Oh, really? Okay. It seems like, I mean, there's so much content here that definitely I could write however many pages they want, just based on Nikos's work, your work, Nir's work, Anne's work. If I cite you guys' books as my sources, definitely there's going to be a lot of content.
Thank you
Go
very
ahead
much
and good luck.
that. Thank you. I'm actually in the process of writing a paper for Justin Hollander's Shindig, and also in October 17th in Boston at Tufts University. And I am calling it, what am I calling it? I'm calling it Classic Planning and Urban Beauty Toward an Urban Renaissance.
Wonderful.
But I also thought of calling it Hereditas Urbium, just to steal from Ettore Mazzola and to see how upset he's going to be, because I really want to tease him. So
that's up to you.
I already have his citation for it in the contents, but I didn't think of putting it into the. I just want to tease him. I think it'll be fun to do that.
Okay, is that it? Should we end? Okay.
Let's end. Yep.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.